due to come up. They are all asking themselves, are they going to attend the coronation? Will they be coming to England? And they seem to be so concerned with whether or not they're going to show up. I mean, they have made half an hour shows with panels sitting around the table. First of all, there are always those at the table that have to talk about how much they despise the Sussex family and that they don't want to see them in the UK. And then there are those who are of the mindset that if they don't come, well, that's just going to give them something to talk about. If they do come, that's going to give them something to talk about. So, unfortunately, Meghan and Harry are in the situation that any um, sixth grade girl is in, meaning people are going to talk about you no matter what you do. So, that's where they are trapped. Um, Many other folks have been asked what they believe that they should do. Now, I probably hold the same view as many of you who support the Sussex team. Personally, personally, I don't want them to go. And I know that's very selfish of me. Um, it's so internal to me. The question that you're actually asking, and again, remember, I come at this looking at it from a parent's eyes. Now, I can't swear that Miss Doria would feel this way, but here's how I feel. I would never want my children to go into a situation that is set up to be negative. It makes me almost ill to think like that they would initially be encouraged into a situation that is just automatically negative. Now, that's mom. However, if I'm listening to those who, they're not looking at it as a mom, they don't want anything bad in front of their children, they don't want anything to go wrong with their kids, then you have the mindset of you have to be bold sometimes. That in this world, unfortunately, people are not supported by being timid. We do have a situation in our existence that often those who are loud and wrong and boisterous and in your face, they are often the people who are supported and elevated. So from that point of view, which of course that would not be the mom, from that point of view, there are those who say not only should they come, but they should come in a pseudo-regal style. I mean, bring their own security, have their own friends come with them, and just bust in and be as visible by not being visible as they are going to be. Because all eyes are going to be waiting to see if they attend. Everyone is holding their breath to get that answer. And they want that answer so they can then discuss it, of course, from a negative viewpoint. They want to point out after that all of the reasons why they shouldn't be accepted. And then they're going to gin up the anger in the UK of people that would come out and actively boo and hiss when they see them in the crowd. So that is what they want to do. They want to have time to gather their resources of personnel that would give them a problem. because, as you know, the UK and their personalities are simply based in cruelty. They don't know any other way to be. So that's my take on the travel situation. So the other thing that folks are discussing quite a bit is the validity, so to speak, of the christening happening and its occurrence, and the fact that the children are now listed, of course, as prince and princess. And if you notice on the royal website, and I'm sure super squatties have checked this out in detail, they are listed, I believe, as fifth and sixth in line, or sixth and seventh, something like that. They fall after Prince William and his children, and then, of course, Harry, and then his children. That is how they're listed in the lineup. Of course, that is making a lot of people angry because without him being a working royal, they feel that that Prince Harry and his children should be stripped out of the listing. They don't want them in the lineup. They want Edinburgh, who is now Sophie and Edward, Duke of Edinburgh, and his wife. They want the Duke of Edinburgh to now be in the lineup. Well, here's the problem with some of those things, or the visibility. And it always strikes me as odd who in the world is giving the royal um, people their advice. Like, where is their advice coming from? And from its appearance, whoever is advising these folks, one, they are cruel, right? And then number two, they are not aware of how large the world is. They really aren't, because you can tell that their advice is a very Eurocentric viewpoint of men over age 50. They don't realize that there is the rest of the world. But here's what I mean by that. So, um, the way that a lot of this royal lineage happens, of course, is the father and then his children and so forth. And it used to be just the male children, but now they include the females. But in doing what they're in suggesting that the removal of Harry's title or his children's title, that suggestion and that desire, let's say, by someone in the family who is very mad, what it will do is it opens the door for the UK to remove their title. And it opens the door for the UK to then say, well, we don't need the monarchy at all. So they have to walk a very fine line between being mad at Harry, angry at Meghan, because their vitriol is truly directed at Meghan. Um, so they have to be very careful about being so upset and so angry with her, and then wanting the titles removed from Lilibet and Archie, making sure that they are scrubbed from the royal book as if they don't exist. Now, this is tricky because when you do that to a member of the royal family, you've opened the door now for the entire royal family to be eradicated. Once you indicate that, oh, we can just strike your name from the royal family just by saying it, what happens is you will, one of these days, maybe not in the near future, but one of these days, the UK Parliament might just say, well, we don't need a royal family. If you didn't need your brother, if you didn't need your son, then we don't need you. And that's where they are currently trapped. But the sad part is, I don't believe they realize that. If you ask me, whoever these advisors are, I don't believe they understand that is how they're being looked at by not the not the close high-end rich people who benefit from them being royals, not that group of people, but they don't realize that is how they're seen by their subjects. And this is something that we all should take a moment and think about it. They really do not understand how the rest of the world looks at them. Um, they have commentators on television every day that proudly state what Americans feel about Meghan and Harry. They proudly make these statements that the Hollywood elite are avoiding Meghan and Harry. And I'm thinking to myself, where did they get that information? You know, the Hollywood elite avoid everybody. And the Hollywood elite only see themselves as elite. So they only glom onto a person because it's going to be beneficial to them. And they change with the wind. But in the UK, the broadcasters and the commentators believe that they are assigning some type of personality to the machine that is Hollywood, and that the rest of the world can't see what Hollywood is all about. So once again, I believe they're making an underestimate of how people actually operate. So that's my thought on that whole title battle. But I think what we all should do is have some fun and think about um, tracking back in historicals and looking at how the royal families operated even in the medieval times. Because now we have the last topic that I'm going to put out there. And I've mentioned this before, but I think we're going to be watching for it. And that is the movement of Miss Camilla Parker Bowles' family. Now, this is truly intriguing. In just a sleight of the hand, the announcement that we're going to drop the title consort and she's actually going to become queen. Okay, that slipped in. It slipped in because the noise is on Harry and Meghan. Now we've slipped in, oh, and her grandkids are now going to be a part of the coronation. They slipped that in. Again, the noise is on Harry and Meghan. So the UK right now, their attention in the real world, their attention is on traffic, transportation, healthcare, um, day-to-day living, the cost of living, what's important. But under the radar, we're slipping in the elevation of the family and the descendants of Camilla Parker Bowles. Now they are legitimate. They are going to be legitimized in history. Now, on a personal note, again, from the standpoint of mothers looking at this, I do not blame her or fault her for trying to do that for her family. I mean, let's face it, her family has worn the brand of mistress to the king and all the negative words that would be associated with that for hundreds of years. And now she has the opportunity, with a very sharp sleight of hand, to elevate her family and make them legitimate. And the UK is actually supporting it because they have jumped on the noise about Harry and Meghan. Harry and Meghan are now the most evil and vile of creatures. And might I add, can anyone list what this negative thing is that they have done except the lies? No, no one can come up with anything outside of the lies. However, now we're going to turn to the wonderful grandchildren, the teenagers of Camilla Parker Bowles. And she's going to put them in the spotlight. And now they're going to be the most wonderful, wonderful of Britons in the world. But the actual family, the actual royals, are going to be trash. You got to admit, this is brilliant. If it were in a movie, I think we'd all be clapping. But because we see what the effect is for Harry and Meghan, we can see that this is just not pretty. Right? Now, again, referring to the ancient times, hundreds of years ago, this would look like someone riding into the palace on a horse and killing people with a sword. But it's a lot more subtle these days. So the last piece of homework I'd like to leave all of you with, and I'm going to ask a lot of the squatties this questions in other forums. Most of the time in the old days, for example, the story of the Boleyn girls who were trying to woo King Henry VIII, it was implied that their father and the girls' uncles were key and prominent figures who worked with the king at that time. So my question would be, even though Camilla Parker Bowles and her family are talked about as mistresses, my greater question would then be, what is the prominence and the significance of their family with the royals? In other words, why was this family so intertwined in their lives with the royals? Like, her family were at whatever events the royals were having. They were intertwined in whatever businesses that the monarchs were involved in at that time. So, of course, I haven't studied history that in depth, and I would love to know all of you guys' opinions on how that family was entwined with the royal family. Because, as you noticed with the Boleyn sisters, their parents and their relatives were actually utilizing these girls to maneuver and manipulate the king in the first place, because they too were prominent aristocrats and wealthy landowners at that time. So I would love to know if it's the same for the current family. Now, I wish if you all have any questions or any comments, please type them in at the bottom there. Let me know that you're out there listening. I would love to hear your thoughts on these subjects. And then next week, we're going to try to do another coffee time, and I'll comb over a few things that'll be happening in that current week, or things that I'm seeing that are coming up new. Also, don't forget to subscribe, all right? And don't forget to hit the like button. I need a lot of likes to keep myself motivated in making these wonderful, wonderful videos. And I want each of you, of course, to stay healthy. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep praying that the world is going to maintain its move towards positivity. All right, so like, share my video, and I hope to talk to you all again very soon.